This is a story from a war correspondent called Mustafa Kazemi, um, out of Afghanistan is where he's writing. This was published, I guess, in a blog style. Um, Came out on the Red Flag News 2 days ago, May 18th, 2013. The above is a picture of an Afghan girl about the same age, because the girl in this story is not named. Mustafa Kazemi is an Afghan government official and a war correspondent. He posted this following story on his Facebook page, so that's how it originated. The 8-year-old girl's story, whose story you'll read in coming lines, did not make it to the second night of her wedding, nor did she make it to her 9th or 10th birthday. Her name unknown, my source telephoned me last week at 9:30 p.m. to tell me her story. At the first I thought it's just going to be a short conversation, but later it was unveiled that the story is different. The story came from a village in Kashmir district of Nimruz, the province in Afghanistan. A medical doctor was assigned in the main hospital at Zaranj city, the capital of the province, who wished to remain unnamed, but he confirmed that he was made aware of the incident and that it was too late to do anything for her, as well as the remote area didn't allow them to do anything. The girl was one of several daughters of a man in his late 30s. For an unknown reason, he gave his daughter to the mullah of the village for a big amount of money. It is also common in Afghanistan's rural areas or third-level provinces and cities to marry young girls to old men and trading their daughters for their debts or other items. The mullah, in his late 50s, and is the mosque of the guy of the village where this incident happened. The mullah is already married and has many children as well. The two families hold a tribal meeting, agree on the price that the groom's family pay to the bride's family, and then they set a date for wedding. In rural areas like this, there are no engagements or any ceremonies beforehand, like there are in some metropolitan and urban areas. The two families planned a wedding party. The wedding and the nikah, the religious process in which a woman is officially married to a man, took place, and the 8-year-old bride became the 50-year-old mullah's second wife. The celebration party was over, and the sun went down, and the time to have sex with his 8-year-old bride. The girl was just 8 years old, and everybody understands the fact that she knows nothing about sex or wedding or making love or virginity or sexually related topics, not even at a basic level, for two reasons. One, that she's just a child, not even a teenager, and that at that part of the country nobody knows anything about those things, nor are they giving any training or education about a healthy sexual life. The mullah takes off his bride's clothes as well as his own, and with apparent so much happiness approaches her for intercourse with his 8-year-old bride. Because of the mullah's huge physique, he threw himself on her and started to attempt to penetrate her. After several tries that led him to failure to penetrate her, the mullah was very frustrated. He failed because the 8-year-old girl, who was about to die with physically thin, had a very tight vagina opening. Sourced from the mullah's animal behavior, he took out his sharp knife that he always carried with him in his pocket and tore apart the girl's vagina from the clitoris side upwards, as well as tore down toward her anus in order to make the vagina large enough so he could enter her. Naturally, she started to bleed in a very bad amount, but the mullah was too annoyed for not being able to have sex with her to care for what he did or her bleeding or her wounds that he gave her. The girl had her scarf stuffed in her mouth, crying and trying not to raise her voice because the others were in the room adjacent or outside. It is a rule in some of these areas in Afghanistan that the groom brings out a piece of cloth that he cleaned with his wife's husband's blood, which is a proof that the girl is a virgin. When he entered her with a severely bleeding vagina and sexual intercourse with her on a blood-covered bed that had not gotten cleaned up with any cloth, the girl, who has now lost everything, was bleeding, and there was nobody to help her. Neither could the mullah ask for help, as it was shame for him and the girl's family, who were sitting over a cup of tea in the other room. Kill him. Our 8-year-old bride bled and went into traumatic shock because of both the forced sex as well as severe bleeding. She had lost so much blood, this I can tell for certain. She bled and bled as herself was in shock until the morning, and early in the morning, around 5, when the sun was about to rise, she passed away. According to the mullah, she was pale and her eyes were open when she died. The bed, as he described, was all red with her blood, and she was lying in her blood only. No cloth beneath her was recognizable, and even was in dried blood because a whole night had passed with her on that blood. She was pale because she had lost all her body's blood. Her eyes were open as she was shivering when she died, and her hands were tied in a prayer position, saying her death time prayer. The mullah called in the same person and asked him to clean up the mess around and prepare a reason to tell the others for her death. Because the man was a close friend or family of the mullah, he did whatever he could, including every piece of the cloth that was bloody. They wrapped her in a piece of white clothes and called the others that she had passed away. That morning her mother mourned her death in the saddest manner without looking for proper explanation about her death, and then took her to wash her body as is the religious ritual. Because the mullah has a great influence on the village, none of the women who washed the girl's body dared ask or seek the reason for the wounds found around her vagina. By 10 a.m. or so, they had rallied the now 8-year-old bride to the graveyard and buried her. Her life ended. The close friend of Mullah, who knew everything, was very upset and shared the story with my source. Then they had called me and told me the story. Another doctor that I asked in the Zaranj said that he wasn't aware of the case, but he remembers that he used to treat the now dead bride when she was 4 or 5 years old. The doctor also asked me not to name him anywhere, but only said that he was deeply saddened that incidents like this still happen in Afghanistan. He called it one of the reasons why Afghanistan is not going forward, people's idiocy and uncivilized behaviors and traditions. This story reached to me and was told the exact way as it happened by the mullah to a very close friend of mine, to a very close friend of him after the girl's dead body was buried. According to the mullah, he had a bad conscience about it.